Before we get into this conversation with Terraine, I want you to think about your own week for a second. Because the week we recorded this, I had an after school art gallery, track meets, a last minute drive to Detroit to get my wife off to her Croatia trip, number of coaching calls, family responsibilities, and all the normal every other day stuff that comes with having four kids. And I have a business too. This is just real life. This is my everyday real life. And that's exactly where health gets in the way, or your everything gets tested when you don't have a solid plan or able to be agile or lean when it and be able to go with the flow of what happens. And in this episode, Train and I talk about what men do when life is super busy, stresses keeps going up, food is you seek out convenience and because you're busy, and the old athlete inside feels like it's disappeared somewhere along the way. We get into boxing, barn workouts, bike desk, Tony the Tiger, McDonald's fries, type 2 diabetes, family travel, and the power of choice, just to name a few things. This is real conversation with two guys talking about real life and getting your health back on track. Here we go. Hear themselves and those who don't. And my job is to make it the simplest and easiest way possible for someone to reach their goals, whether it is weight loss or overcoming some chronic illness like type 2 diabetes, uh, heart attack, cholesterol, blood pressure, you name it. I've talked to someone that has dealt with it. So, and that's my job. I've focused recently a lot on men to help men in their 40s, 50s, and beyond to really focus on themselves because they get trapped in the busyness of life of taking care of themselves. I have four kids myself. We love to travel and just every day is on the go. So it's really easy for that workout that you thought you were going to do to just fade away. Even this week, I spent un impromptu 3 hours for an art gallery after school from 2 to 4:30. Then right after that, we had a track meet for my second son, and that was 3 hours. It got done. So 2 to 9:15 was occupied on Wednesday. Last night, I drove my wife to Detroit because the rental car wasn't working very well. So I ended up taking a 6 hour impromptu time out of my day to go handle her and get her to off to Croatia because she's a travel advisor. And then today I had 4 hours for a track meet for my second son. So there you go. There is lots of things happening in everyone's life, and taking care of yourself can quickly and easily fall by the wayside.
You live a busy life, my friend. How do you stay balanced?
Geez, I don't. I have very few priorities. Family first, my career and my clients are second, and then everything else starts to fade from there. Now, I do have to wiggle myself in. Naturally, being a health coach, I have to take care of myself, right? I have to lead by example. So it does take a priority, and I have figured out different ways to figure that in with scheduling workouts with my buddies. That's how we spend time together. We don't go to the bar or watch sport games or something like that. We come into my barn here and we work out and spend time that way. So that ends up being a big priority. I spend time with my kids exercising, and then I figured out instead of a walking desk, I have a bike, and I created this bike stand up desk thing that I pedal while I work. And it's been amazing. So that's been able to keep my, say, zone 2 level of activity up and keep conditioning. So it does have to be a priority and scheduled somehow, some way. And you just have to be determined to fit it in at least a couple times a week.
Someone once shared with me that Terrain, I went from the bar to lifting a bar,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because they're at the gym and that is their way of keeping balance. Because sometimes they're stressful. They're like, okay, I'm going to hit a PR today because I'm so stressed. I'm going to focus that energy, right? I have a punching bag. I don't know if I shared with you last time we spoke. I have a punching bag in my garage. If I have a difficult day, everyone that stressed me out, their name is on that bag. Right? I'm giving liver shots to the CEO. I'm giving left hooks to whomever, right? Whatever works, whatever works. And I found that it's so therapeutic to just do something that is strenuous physically, when you have such an emotionally or mentally draining day. What do you think are some of the obstacles that men have in particular when it comes to finding that balance or finding something that's going to help them stay balanced?
Yeah, a lot of them reminisce around being the high school athlete. Back in the day, I used to whatever, and then they've slowly deconditioned over the last 10 to 15 years and popping them out into their mid 40s or 50s. And that sedentary lifestyle, that busyness of prioritizing family, providing, going through little kids and growing a business and establishing yourself in your career, it really, you lose that identity of that active, healthy, fit person. And some of the initial things I need to do straight away is connect those dots immediately. So, Terraine, you love boxing. Okay, cool. Tell me a bit more about that. And then we could go into this storyline to figure out, is this because Rocky Balboa inspired you, or like kickboxing class, or you just picked it up recently? And then I start to develop through our relationship, help understand why boxing is a great stress relief, and then we figure out. And I just like poke and push and encourage and foster that type of a relationship and development to get, say, for you, boxing back into a primary piece of some of the activities that you do in the course of a week. It doesn't have to be every day, but the course of the week. Okay, hey, 1, 2 times you think you can go out and box, and all of a sudden, with these tiny little agreements and re-identifying with that athlete inside, and that like aggressiveness, or that competitiveness, or just the need to expend energy other than staring at a screen all day 24/7, that's how we can start to wiggle it back into someone's life.
I'm glad you share that. I recently had a conversation with a coworker and we're talking about social media. And I told her that I don't have any personal social media. It's all business and charities. Like you and I follow each other. And she was like, "So what do you do?" I was like, "Okay, this is what I do." I was like, "No, no, no. What do you do in your life?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, you don't do on social media. Like social media is everyone's life." When she asked that question, Brian, I thought she meant, "What do I do charity and coaching wise?"
Yeah,
Right? But she
exactly.
thought that because, yeah, because I don't have social media, she thought that I work, go home, and sit until I have to sleep.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, I'm living the life that you post about, that you watch other people do. And you can see the wheels turning. I was like, I would go on vacation where you'd watch people's photos of the vacation. She's like, oh, okay. I understand now, but it was such a lost art that because I would ask her then, why don't you just go on the vacations that you watch online?
Yeah.
She's like, well, it's not going to look like this, it's not going to look like that, but it's going to be your experience. You came back from a vacation. How did that positively impact your family?
My gosh. My wife, she has wanderlust. Fortunately for me, we spend a lot of time, energy, money, resources to travel. And I fully identify with that. That's just part of my identity now. We've had the fortune of taking our 4 kids. We have Levi, Everett, Maxwell, and Emmeline, 3 boys and a girl, 16 to 10. So we're in the thick of it. There's constant demand, but we take time out to prioritize. We've been to all 50 states and we're working on all 7 continents per Maxwell, my third son, his suggestion as we were walking back from in Moab from the Arches Monument, the Utah license plate one, that one. And he's like, "How about after we get done with the 50 states, how about we do all 7 continents?" And I look back at him. So what? I never grasped the idea of planting feet on Antarctica. And now we have conversations about going through the Drake Passage. You're going to get the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake. And it's where this convergent of 3 massive bodies of water converge into this inlet to get to Antarctica. And the only way to get in is through a ship. And you certainly could fly, but then you just basically add a zero for 6 people to be able to afford that. But a ship is the way to go. And we're talking about all this adventure and stuff. And so we just got back from South America, Peru, and we were able to. That's our fourth continent as a family. And we still have Asia, Antarctica, and Australia to go, but we prioritize this, and so we spent about 10-ish days in Peru. We went. We I live near Cleveland, Ohio, so we flew down to Miami, spent a day there. We biked with alligators next to us, like in the Shark Valley Everglades National Park. Then we flew down overnight, trying to get those two younger kids, especially, to sleep on the plane when they could just stare and watch movies. It was tough. But then we land in Lima and go to Cusco, and we did beaches and we did mountains. We did the Amazon. We took trains, planes, automobiles, bicycles, tuk-tuks. We did all sorts of different activities, and we swam with sea lions. We fished for piranhas. We went to Machu Picchu and biked next to those alligators. And the idea is that we can't take our money with us, but we can create fond memories that connect our family together, and then also foster connection. Like, I believe you live in Toronto, right? Right, and I was in Toronto in around Thanksgiving, so we went up to Niagara Falls, and then we went to Canada Wonderland, and we were freezing, but we're up there in around late November, early December, having a blast as a family, and that's something that has resonated, and not only with, obviously with what my wife does as a living, but also is connecting our family so that we give our kids and our space a lot of opportunity to do things, but also I can connect with you really quickly because I've been in Toronto multiple times and I really enjoy that city. And all of a sudden you get to see the world from a different lens. And this is something that I appreciate the most because people were asking me, "You're going international, aren't you, like, worried or whatever?" I've been to Africa, multiple countries in Europe, now South America, and not been I have not felt threatened. I have not felt lack of security or safety in these places. Why? Of course, we're not like mingling with like the drug dealers of the cartel of Mexico or something, right? You'll get yourself in trouble pretty quick there. But what I find is that people are, as a human race, want to live a happy, healthy, joy filled experience in their life. And they are more than excited to have visitors to come in and learn about their culture and spend money with them, right? And that's been my life experience so far with travel. And it's just a beautiful thing.
I've been to Panama,
Okay.
Cuba, Bali, and I'm missing one other place in the last, let's say, 5 years. And similar to you, I've always felt safe and I've loved the experience because it is such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Soothing effect. It's like you're detoxing, but you're not necessarily addicted to something. Maybe you're addicted to work or helping people, right? But it's like a detox. It's like, wow, I'm escaping my everyday life, which is pretty good, but I get to relax from everything else. For those who maybe don't have the travel bug like how you and I have it, definitely you have it more than I do because you and your family love it so much, right? What are maybe some other ways that they could find happiness in general that you could recommend?
We have time. That's all we have, right? There's three parts of time that we have and experience in this life: past, which is behind us. And in the past, we want to bring the memories, the love, the joy, the energy with us, right? We want to learn from our mistakes. We don't have to live in our mistake and carry that with us as our identity for the continuation of the rest of your life or something. Is, say you did something bad, and like, everyone does bad stuff. Sometimes you get caught, like you go to jail, right? You don't have to be, you know, any of that stuff. You can reinvent yourself every step of the way. So we bring the love, the joy, the shared joyful memories. We learn from our experience. We have the present. This is all we have. You and I are engaging right now, and I want to be as present as I can. And that's so important, especially in our current modern day of age. And I don't know about you, but AI and everything has been fast forward. Like, I think we're on a rocket ship in terms of just the attention and the seeking and the dopamine and the instant gratification and all these things, and people in their phones in their face all the time, and so we don't actually appreciate the present. And that's something that we really need to tune into, because it's really easy to put your head in the sand, scroll for an hour, and then next thing you know, you pass out and your phone hits you on your face to wake you back up to go to bed. And then the future we have, that's the third component of time. And I believe you should live in anticipation of the experiences that you want to have. Why couldn't you travel, or why couldn't you have a better job or a better relationship or do something fun and engaging and exciting, whether it costs money or it doesn't cost anything? And that's something that I'm trying to teach my kids is, one, don't live life 10 seconds at a time. You're going to lose a decade of your life before you come up for air and realize you've wasted so much time and so much loss. Secondly, you can be bored. It's okay to just not be stimulated and just be bored. And thirdly is that you have to create the fun. You have to create the experience. You show up with your energy, and then that creates the experiences that you have in life for you to remember and to share and to bring more joy to others. So
It's a
all of that
fantastic
said
point.
is live life in anticipation. Be present, be joy filled, seek out happiness, help other people, and look for excitement in whatever experience you like to have in life. It could be travel, it could be other things.
Those paths of finding happiness that's unique to you. For some people, it's going to be travel. Some people, it's going to be the gym. Some people, it may be, hey, Brian Terraine, I just want to sit at home and relax and watch Netflix and chill with myself, right?
Right.
Just me and my TV and a bowl of popcorn. What
And
are some of the ways that, go
with
ahead.
that,
I was going to,
yeah, with that, we can have those downtimes. You can watch a movie and have popcorn. That's okay. But if that defaults to the everyday life, I don't think that's living life. I think you're checking out. I think you're not experiencing what life is. Life is all sorts of emotions, from happiness to sadness, to easy to hard, to challenging, to you conquer and overcome. And that's how you grow. So, yes, I would totally say watch a movie by yourself, have a popcorn, cool. But if that's that's your everyday, I don't think that's actually living. I think you're doing something else.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say, right? Like some people may find it that way, but then it becomes something that is a hindrance. It's
Right.
blocking them, right? On that note, then, what are some of the obstacles that can lead people to trying to find happiness in all the wrong ways?
Oh, well, humans have addictive behaviors naturally, right? And even right now in our current time, we see attention, drugs, sex, gambling, like money, all these things are amplified because we're so connected to everyone, but we're so disconnected socially to everyone as well. And there's this really complicated situation that we're experiencing as a human race. And so addiction is more prevalent than ever because of just everything's literally marketed, or consumerism, or capitalism. These are all things that are in existence. And I don't know if they're actually more beneficial. Yes, convenience is a lifestyle, right? You can go buy 1,000,000 calories for pretty cheap within walking distance of your house, but that's not going to benefit you, right? Because it's going to be simple, processed, sugary type, whatever, and crinkly packages, and that's not going to be beneficial to your overall life. Whereas maybe, say, we were visiting and learning about the Incas and their philosophies and their culture and their empire, they had a much simpler lifestyle. We would probably find it really boring, but also it was simple. They had to pay attention to eating, staying alive, and then they were able to express themselves in some form of entertainment or dance or song or connection and community, which again is something that we're really lacking, I believe, a lot this at this time.
It seems like we've given up connection for convenience and people for things.
Agreed, unfortunately. And I'll admit I fall victim to that just like anyone else. I'm a little more aware of it, but am I hyper aware? Am I to the point of growing my own food in my yard? No. I'm going to go buy food at the grocery store in a sense because it's more convenient and easier for me to operate in my day-to-day life.
I remember that I was reading somewhere where the person was going shopping and she mentioned food and she was complaining. She made a video about it. She's like, food is so expensive. I can't believe there's taxes on foods and the prices keep going up. She showed her cart and people are like, where's the food? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, chips, cookies,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? These things I'm like, that's not food. They're like, where's the meat? Where's the salad? Right? But her mind, she
Mhm.
was conditioned to think of cookies, chips, and so on as food versus something else. Could it be that sometimes our perception is skewed and that's really what's impacting us?
Totally. Marketing 101. You and I both know this slogan really well, right? Because we're about the same age in a sense, and they're great. That's Tony the Tiger, Frosted Flakes, right? We've been indoctrinated that that is a great breakfast cereal in a sense, right? Everyone knows Tony the Tiger in a sense. At least our age group does, right? Because you got it on Saturday morning cartoons and all this stuff, right? So we're inundated with marketing and let's say nutrition because I talk a lot about nutrition. I'd say about 75 to 80% of the time I'm talking to people about food and how to have a better education, understanding, responsibility around it and all, and to learn. And you learn about nutrition two different ways from parenting, from your parents, right? And whatever they knew or learned or shared with you and then marketing, which probably influenced your parents. I was born in the early 80s. Hamburger Helper and all these things and McDonald's and all these things started to become prevalent a lot more and a lot more marketing dollars and everything put into it. So then by default, I could easily just fall into just society saying, "Oh, there's McDonald's. I'm loving it." Right? There's a blend of two different jingles from McDonald's that I know and just follow suit. We pass McDonald's. Ding, Pavlov's dog goes off. I got to go see the Golden Arches because my mouth's salivating because the fries are manufactured to taste amazing. And there's the problem. Or I can say, hey, I need to be responsible. And a large fry, people, is basically a meal. It's like 600 calories. So you're just going to forego a whole meal if you're going to eat that. And it's not going to move you in the direction that you want to go toward better energy, better health, keeping your weight managed well, is unfortunately.
I was looking at the food pyramid since you mentioned we're around the same age. I remember when we were growing up, I think it was heavy on the grains, if I
Right.
remember correctly. Bread, cereal was this, as you
That was the
mentioned, Tony the
base,
Tiger.
right?
That was a big one, right?
Right? The triangle.
Now it's inverted. Now it's less of that and it's more of the protein, more of the vegetables. And you remember that saying, you can't leave the table until you eat your vegetables?
Right? Or clean your plate. Right?
Or clean your plate.
I was part of Clean Plate Club. Yeah.
Is the focus on what's the word I'm looking for it? Food that is beneficial to us or food that maybe we're more emotionally tied to, such as the sweets. Is there a disconnect between the two that you see in the men that you're helping?
Yeah. Well, episode 51 of Driven for Health, that's my podcast. I've been shamelessly plugging with my drink cup, but I actually talk about the new food pyramid and what it means and all. Here's the easiest takeaway. Whether you think it's right or wrong, or the old pyramid's right or wrong, or my plate is right or wrong, those are three government led initiations on food. People don't follow them. So it doesn't matter. You could totally blame the old one or the new one or the my plate or whatever. People aren't following those. They're not eating whole foods. They're not eating an appropriate amount of calories at the time that they need to ingest calories in food. They're over inundated with sugary processed carbs and fats. ultra processed foods that taste amazing and are by default everywhere you look with shiny, crinkly packages and just they beckon to you, right? They call. It's like Reese's, come enjoy me. And that ends up being the bigger issue than whether we can say this government-led nutritional approach is healthier, better, or whatever than another. I don't that's what I'm thinking is that just people just don't follow it plainly because if they did, they would eat things in a reasonable portion amount of food and they we wouldn't have a lot of people in a overweight, a obese, morbidly obese, or chronic illness type categories right now.
As men and women get older, because I know you work with men over a certain age, is
Yeah.
that a struggle for them to maintain a healthy form of anything really, from food to activities, anything that they're intaking in their lives?
Yeah. Habits, behaviors, these things are ingrained in them, and we have to find ways to break those down. Example, you've heard this one, everyone listening, and will hear this phrase. You can lead a horse to water, but can't make it drink it. Right? Right? We've all heard that. But there is a way to get the horse to drink the water. Do you know what it is?
I was gonna say push the horse's water in head into the water.
It's the that that isn't gonna get it to drink though, right?
No, no, I would say that you probably want to lead by example, give it a reason to.
Exactly, and what a simple reason to get the horse thirsty is salting the oats that it eats before you take it to the water source, and then it'll be thirsty. So I am over here trying to salt the oats, going back to the boxing reference for you. I'm going to salt the reason you like to box and make sure that we a positive reaction to it so that you experience sure stress relief but actual enjoyment from it as well, and make sure that it's a repeatable process that we can ingrain and put back into your weekly life. Not, it doesn't have to be daily, but hey, once or twice or three times a week, you box for 10, 20, 30 minutes, what have you, or you go sign up for a boxing club or something. And that changes the relationship of you and boxing as an activity that you can foster. And that's part of the process. So you can teach an old dog new tricks, but with animals, and I find this pretty wild through my sheer volume of experience of doing animal specific type travel because we have 4 young kids and we thrive in an environment with animals with our kids and stuff. They have a blast. So fishing for piranhas, how do we get the fish, the piranhas, right? We didn't just jump in and put our finger in and pull it up, right? No, we use bait, right? Or I remember in San Diego at SeaWorld, the amount of food that they gave the orcas every time they did a trick. I mean, they were taking like a shovel worth of fish and throwing it in their mouth to reinforce a positive behavior. And that's what my job is, to help break through all the challenge, through the stress, through the busy schedule, through the everyone that I work with is busy. And so how do I get them to create a new identity or a new connection to taking care of themselves? And it starts with basic things of what I call the core four. So we got the basics of drinking enough water, of sleeping enough, of moving your body enough, whether you're working out or not, or just walking 10,000 steps, and then nutrition, eating whole foods, eating 3 to maybe 4 times a day, balanced, calorie appropriate meals. And when we implement all those things, then the body starts working, the habits start working, the energy starts showing up, and people feel better. And then that reinforces the cycle of taking care of themselves or doing these new behaviors or activities.
If someone's not taking care of themselves, what are some of the positive or not so positive consequences that you've seen happen to them from like a body wise?
Yeah. Well, the obvious one, the clothes don't fit. To wow, I feel like sleeping every day at 3 o'clock. To just being strung out on caffeine all day because they don't actually eat food, or having intense cravings for foods that they literally can't ignore and put aside, the ultra processed foods. Right? Why is it that I always put my face in ice cream or the Reese's or the sugar or whatever. And that's because they aren't following these behaviors. So then we get to another level of being overweight. And the more overweight you are, the more likely you are to be connected with chronic illness. Also, newsflash, unfortunately, you and I, hey, we're men. We're going to have about average age of 76 years on this planet, is the chronological average of this all. And at 43 years young, man, 30 more years left. Holy cow. I don't want that. But also, we go back to going overweight. How many 80-year-olds do you find that are over 300? It doesn't happen, right? And because natural selection will take that person out because they weaken defenses. The disease has already snuck in the back door, say type 2 diabetes. Oh, I'm 30 pounds overweight. My doctor's been telling me to lose weight forever. My blood panels are always good every time I go. And you just ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. Well, at some point that diabetes is gonna exit the back door, walk around and knock on the front door, be like, hey, I just introducing myself. I'm type 2 diabetes. I'm here to stay. I'm moving in. You're like, no, you slam the door and it's like, no, it sticks its foot in the door. Like, that's not how this works right now because you've invited me. You've been putting a signal out for years and decades of come to me and move into my house and all that stuff. So these are really bad things. And I always have to ask people, there's two sides of the coin. The first one is what is it that you want to experience when you do get to a healthier you? Right. Cause then they can see, they call it the heaven and the hell. And so you have the heaven, like, oh, I can be able to do these things that I haven't been able to do. I can, work more. I can like whatever their goal is. I can go to the beach and feel confident again, right? I can be closer to my partner, relationship wise, like intimacy wise, things like that are important, and I hear that a lot. Or the flip side of the coin, the cost of inaction. Well, Terraine, if you give up on boxing and you give into the processed foods in 10 years you just slowly gain 1 pound a year. In 10 years, you're 10 pounds overweight. 20 years, you're 20 pounds overweight. Or worse, you could be 40 pounds overweight. Where does that likely put you then? And I have to get people to stop and think, and they'll be like, no, I'm never going to let that happen. Well, I'm sorry, John, Sally, whoever I'm talking to, you're in the worst health position that you are right now. That's what got you to raise your hands in the first place. And you would have never believed you would have gotten to this place 10 years ago. So the possibility is truly there. So I have to get people to see and think about the consequences of their actions if they don't take action toward a better, healthier self.
Are people living with blinders on when it comes to their own health?
People are living with blinders on when it comes to a lot of things, me included. Right. Again, I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. No one is. And there's certain things. A good example for me, I'll admit that this is year number 2 that of Brian doing his taxes. You're like, Brian, you're 43. How have you only done taxes for 2 years? Well, I paid taxes every year, but someone else did it, right? Because it was painful. I didn't know what to do or how to do it. Or I gave that blinder of like, blah, 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 tax, da, da, da. So my wife did it. Her mom did it. My grandma hired someone to do it. My mom did it way back. And that was kind of the progression of what got me to year 41 when my wife says, I'm not doing it anymore. You get to do it. And she literally just cold turkey said, if we get audited and fined because we didn't pay taxes this year, it's on you. So you better do something. So I got an accountant and I figured out how to work QuickBooks and I'm still learning and stuff. But those are blinders, right? That's a real situation that I put my head in the sand and just focus on the things that I do like. And life isn't always like that. You do have to pay attention and do things that you don't always want to do all the time. That's the unfortunate sadness of adulting once you realize adulting and its true capacity. It's something that, say, my parents were divorced when I was younger, and I didn't get to see these things because my dad was only around every other week, or my mom's heavily distracted trying to provide a living, things like that. So I don't get to connect and understand or see these things, or they can teach me what's happening. And that's something that like my wife and I are highly committed to doing, is make sure that we can foster a relationship like, hey, life is gonna lipe on you, man. It's gonna get hard. So you need to equip yourself with skills and abilities and relationships and communication so that and you're not going to do that 10 seconds at a time scrolling on reels that don't mean anything and don't give you actually any value.
I turned 40 April 4th, so not that long ago. And I
Happy
share
birthday.
that because thank you, thank you. You mentioned that in men in our 40s, we face different challenges. And I said that I wanted to change the way I was going to the gym and change the way that I was keeping healthy. So instead of trying to be this jacked big guy, I was like, let me lean out, let me be more functional and increase my strength.
Right.
I found that I was able to move around differently. I found that I was more energetic, as well as I don't eat meat. I used to be I used to be a vegan. Now I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat seafood. I feel in the best shape of my life because I made these changes. And when I seen some of your clips and you talk about diabetes and this stuff, I was thinking, I don't know anyone in my family that has it, but I don't want to be the first.
Right.
Right. And I knew someone that I used to work with. He didn't have diabetes. He got it because he ate poorly, a lot of sugary things, because he was always at work working 10, 12, 14 hours. It's desk food, right? At your desk, you probably have a bag of chips, a bag of candy, whatever.
Yep.
Convenience food. When he found out he was diabetic, it was probably 2 years after his son was born, and he cried. And the reason why he cried is he shared to me, I always wanted to be here for my son. And now that I have this, I don't know if I'm going to be. I said, you still could be.
Right.
It's not a death sentence, right? It's like when someone says that they have some type of illness, unless they are going to die that moment, your life may change, but you can live with it. How do you help men to continue to be confident that life can continue forward and not to get discouraged and think it's all over?
Well, again, going back to my podcast, I've covered some things like, say, type 2 diabetes is episode 89. It was. So it was titled, I just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now what? And then there's a couple other ones after that in the 90s episodes that talk about it. Literally, I tried to recreate an experience of someone just plugging and chugging, being busy, living life, to then getting diagnosed, to going to the doctor and afterwards, and going through that literal timeline of what happens 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out. You can reverse type 2 diabetes, people. You can take back control of your health and your body. You can extend your life another 5 to 10 years of high quality living. I had type 2 diabetes in my family, both of my grandmothers. On uh, the first one, I don't know, Grandma Ellen, I don't know if she had gotten it or whatever. Unfortunately, she was overweight, and being overweight or at a healthy body weight doesn't imply that you are more or are less at risk. Skinny people get diabetes because of the high sugar carbohydrate content that they eat, but she managed it reasonably well. She got to age 84 and could function and do things and whatnot. My other grandma, Grandma Pat, she ended up getting diagnosed, and there was a very high A1C, and it caused, it wreaked havoc on her life. Double leg amputation. She lived in 5 different assisted living homes, and I got to see this in my late teens, early 20s. This experience of her life for the last decade, and it was just traumatic, for lack of a better phrase, to her. To She was the true matriarch of our family. Everyone would come over to her house. Her house is that way, about 2 mile to 2 miles that way. And we would have so much time, fun and time. I have so many fond memories until the end. And so it is important to understand that you can change it by taking more responsibility. And yes, you're always going to be busy. There's never a good time. There's never enough time or money or effort or any of that stuff for anything that you need to make a priority, but you have to reshape, rechange your priorities and how your day to day life goes. And if you, I always say this to people because, yeah, I talk to a lot of people about health, nutrition, and lifestyle, but also say if your work career was creating a lot of friction for our goal of being a better boxer and getting healthier in your 40s and feeling younger at 50 than you do at 40, right? That could be your goal. That's my goal. And but if work is causing this huge stress barrier, we're gonna talk about it. So, Terrain, do you really like work? And you're like, wow, it's really stressful. And so you do realize you don't have to keep doing this, right? There are other ways to make money. And so calling people out to start to crack, so you have the door and just give it a little bit of a crack, a little bit of an opening to get someone to start thinking differently becomes super important in the process of change and transformation and behaviors so that they actually can then create something different. One last thing, I'll share a story. A gentleman I talked to on Thursday, today's Saturday, Thursday, John, we've been working together for over a year. He's lost weight and he's done a lot of good things. But he's also divorced and he was in a relationship that just ultimately didn't pan out. And now, recently, his ex-wife has now come back, and they're actually moving. They live together, and they're moving together, and they're getting like back into the relationship and stuff. And he told me this on Thursday, which I'm blessed to hear. And this isn't the first time this happened, but because he chose to work on himself and because of the actions and the conversations and the things that we focused on for him, he lost weight and he showed signs that he was taking care of himself. He was able to rekindle that relationship with someone that's been a prominent person in his life to the point where they have kids together. So that was really important, and you can tell that there's this undertone of joy and of happiness and of ease and less stress because he has his life partner back with him, his wingman in life, to help and manage and love and cherish and foster that type of relationship. And that's magical to be able to help people do that stuff. But it all starts with cracking the door of seeing more opportunity to start coming.
That is absolutely beautiful because that's a positive reinforcement of an example of someone taking back their life and saying that it may have been out of control a little bit, but I'm going to take back control. How powerful is that behavior to take back control of your life?
Last night, I spent 2 hours on the phone talking with someone as in a phone consult. So he reached out, I called him, we had talked for we were on the phone for 2 hours. But taking back control was one of the things he wanted to feel more in control. He's 5'5", 250 pounds. That's not a good height to weight ratio, right? And he needs to get to 185. And so he signed up for my program ultimately, but taking back control is one. Educating him, giving him resources and support and accountability to be able to do that so that he can start moving himself forward. And it's going to absolutely help his overall life situation. He shared a bunch of other things about his current life, and there's so much opportunity to improve his work situation, his career, his relationships with his partner, with his kid, with his social gathering around the friends and family and stuff. And if he can just start with simple things of, can I make a better choice right now in this moment instead of defaulting to emotional eating or getting too busy and caught up and just delaying and not eating at all. So then, we'll eat later in the day. And those are some of the simple struggles that he deals with, but giving him some control and choice, give him the power to choose better is so important. It's something that I always try and empower anyone I've ever worked with to do is the power of choice.
Brian, let me ask you one final question before I let you go today, because I love that you mentioned the power of choice. What are three things you wish people knew about the power of choice and why?
Well, first is the power of choice to be consistent to move forward. Okay. You all taking care of yourself or your finances or relationships or your career or your kids or your car. It's just consistently doing the thing that keeps that, 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 the relationship in a good standing. So we have that. The second one is a simple question I always have people ask themselves, and this is probably the best thing. So pause and write this down is what's the next best thing I can do for myself right now? that puts me in a better position. Whether for me, it's like what's the next best to take better care of yourself or have more energy or to lose weight or any of that. So then people stop and think. They have that what they call a pattern interrupt to be able to pause and not just unconsciously grab Tony the Tiger because it's been ingrained in their brain for decades that they're great. No, how about we grab the oatmeal and grab some high protein yogurt and make a little fruit berry yogurt parfait thing with sprinkle with some granola, some oatmeal on top. That's gonna be a much better choice for you to get to the healthier version that you want. And the third one is that you can't stop. The only time that you actually get to stop is when you're not here anymore. That's it. Life is an ongoing process that we always have to day, and it changes every day. And if you're not ready for life to change and you're not accepting of that, life is going to be really hard. You're going to get left behind. You're going to feel like you're 80 when you're 40, right? Just like grandpa or grandma. Like, well, they never got on a computer, so they just use the dial up and they watch black and white TV, right? Life is changing so much and it's always going to. So you have to accept that change is going to happen and you have to be agile, lean, and adapt. And that even goes furthermore to why I would compel you to take better care of yourself so that you can keep up, that you can live a life, that you can live in anticipation of things that you want to experience, that you actually do the things that you want to experience and you don't die with regret because so many people don't do the thing that they should have done and it just looms in their background for their life. So consistently make progress toward making yourself better, more equipped, more capable. Just want to know, did this conversation hit you? Did it make sense? Is it relevant? Because what you heard is a little bit of your own life in there. Then you've got a busy schedule, you've got stress, there's food and choices that are on the go, and maybe your workouts just fall off your schedule because life is busy. I want you to think about something. I created the health hot seat for men who need a better plan than whatever the heck they're trying to do or what they've done in the past. And this isn't random advice. This is literally me doing one-to-one coaching with you live. All right. What you're going to do is you're going to fill out a form. It's really simple and easy to do. It's going to give me the insights of what your schedule looks like, what food it looks like, a number of other things that happen in your life so that I can help you move forward with a real action plan. It's really simple to apply. I have a Google form that you fill out. The link will be in the show notes. It's the Health Hot Seat. You can listen to episode you see where it was episode 105 if you want to sample and that will allow you to get a better idea with Dominic. He messaged me right after the weekend from our conversation and he already applied some of the things that he did and noticed really good benefits of it. So we'll talk through what you're going and what your life looks like, how things are going, and you'll get a really good clear idea of how to get around why you're stuck. So check the link and I hope to see you there.